Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us at London Film Festival. Maybe for people who haven't seen Vermiglio yet, can give us a brief introduction. What can they expect when they watch your film?
They could expect to travel through time and space and go back to a little village in the high mountains in north of Italy in the last year of Second World War. In the Four Seasons, it's really like a Four Seasons film, and it's a story of a big family and how the arrival of a soldier changes the equilibrium in this family.
And I believe it's a very deeply personal story in the sense that you sort of went back and discovered your own roots, and that kind of inspired the story. So where did that all begin for you, and why was it something important for you to explore on screen particularly?
It came out of a sad moment, which was my father's death, but then it came out of a happy little thing. It was a dream I had, a very strong dream. It was more a vision than a dream, let's say. And it was my father coming to visit me, but it was not the father I knew. It was a little boy, 6 years old. It resembled to an old photograph of him when he was 6. And he was very happy. So in a way, I was also like relieved, like he's happy somewhere. And he was playing in his childhood's home, which was in Vermiglio, this little village in the mountain. So at the beginning, I just began to write about him playing with his siblings, which of course are my aunts. And I found very interesting to write about people I knew very well, but in a moment in which I couldn't have known them because I wasn't born, in this relationship between something you know very well and something you're completely ignorant about. Found that there could be a very interesting dramaturgical movement. And then, of course, yes, I understood that images were stronger and stronger, coming, and all stories I heard in my childhood. And I understood that maybe there was a film there, not just a private diary I was writing.
And what really, I think, stands out about the film is just how immersive it is, and you really transport your audience back to this time and place, whether that's kind of the costumes or the way of life. I mean, that mustn't have been, there was no mean feat to pull off. So what was the process of that like, and particularly bringing your actors on board? You know, we almost having to like live in this way in order for it to feel so authentic.
I'm happy you say it because it was one of the aim of the film. And I wanted really to be very sensorial. I wanted people to sit in the cinema and feel the cold and feel the smell of this warm milk. So it was all the decisions were in that sense. So the idea was, okay, we have to shoot it in that valley. It has to be talked in that dialect. Of course, it would have been great to have big actors, very famous for the distribution, but no, they shouldn't have very known faces. They had to have the right faces, and sometimes have to be known professionals, because they had to be overall, of course, the children and the teenagers. They had to be mountain children and not people I would have chosen in Rome, and then they would have learned an accent that was not their accent, and they wouldn't have moved in the right way. So all the decisions were to, okay, let's recreate this world in a rooted way. I did a lot of preparation. Me, myself, I spent a lot of time in the place, and I spent a lot of time talking with my parents and all the people in the valley, the old people of the valley, trying to rebuild those sensations, listening to what they remember from their youth, because it's different to listen to people or to read on a book. They were all emotional souvenirs, not just like, happened this and this and this. It was really like you could still see in their eyes what was a childhood in war. A lot of preparation, a lot of work with the actors and young actors, and a lot of studying.
And how did you decide on your core cast, and what stood out to you about these particular actors to play your characters? How did you work with them to achieve your vision?
But it depends, because it's a choral movie, so it's a lot of characters. Of course, one of the main goal was to have a good Lucia, the eldest daughter. And I also there, for example, it was also a question: does she have to be a professional actress? Does she have to be a girl of that zone? So in those cases, when I have a doubt like this, I opened the two roads. So I saw a lot of very good young actresses, and then I saw people from the valley. and this girl came. She already danced and had some theater experience, some little experiences, but she was not a professional actress. But what I found in her was that she was really a mountain girl. She could really be with the cow, do things like in a very natural way. And also she has something ancient face in the way she moves in the world. So I think it could be believable. That was the most important thing. And for the father, for example, it was difficult to find someone who could be both culturally believable, but also giving all these contradictory aspects that the teacher has, because he's kind of a very old-fashioned man, but at the same time he has modern aspects. You love him, you hate him. He's very contradictory. I think Tommaso was the right person because he listened a lot. He wanted to go into this adventure, answering to what I was asking, which was very different from what he was asked in the other films. They normally chose him for being beautiful and damned. And I asked him to be an old man, mountain man, who doesn't show his emotion in a very noble way. And it was a great challenge, and he loves challenges. So, and then, the teenagers and the children, it was more a sensation about what I was dreaming about when I was writing. And also feeling that child can be on a set in a very natural way. He doesn't look at himself or herself from outside. He is really a child. She is really a teenager, and she really lives, and she doesn't feel the camera. This was important for me.
On the shoot, were there any moments that stood out as being particularly challenging? I mean, I imagine it was all quite challenging, but being in the cold, trying to get all the period details just right. And on the flip side, did you have a favourite moment, or when you watch it back now, a favourite scene?
It's so difficult to answer your question because it was so difficult, all the film. We had less than 6 weeks for a film with babies and children and beasts and in the mountains, in different seasons. So everything was in a rush with difficulties. And when you're in a rush and the baby cries he doesn't have to cry, you're losing 20 minutes, and it's even worse and worse and worse. So I wouldn't say there was one moment, it was the whole film. I wouldn't say there was one moment, but I think at every day there was very difficult moments and very happy moments in which you see that it's coming out, it's coming to life. And I do a lot of preparation, so a lot of things, they really are as I imagined, but at the same time, the film is happened in that specific moment. It's just the moment the camera grabs. So it always have its singularity. When you like it, you say, oh, this is the singularity it will have in the film. So it's a mixture of feelings always for me. Difficult and beautiful. Yeah.
The takeaways from the film, I mean, as we said at the beginning, you are just transporting people to another time and place, and there's so much to unpack, about things that are obviously relevant to that time, but are still relevant to today. That, you are seeing these moments that we would now be able to label as, postnatal depression or, poor mental health, and, the patriarchal forces that are there, and the women not having their independence. But there's sort of also these flourishes of not necessarily saying everything is negative either. The fact that the father is saying that, well, it's still important to have music, it's still important to have creativity, or when Lucia does fall in love, there's that beautiful moment of romance that you can also be sucked into. So there's some contradictions there. What do you think people could take away?
You talked about a moment I really like in the film is the moment in which the teacher introduces to Vivaldi lesson to the kids, because I think it has to do with those situations in which everyone is right. Because when he argues with the wife, she says something that of course we agree with. She says it's luxury. We have children, they have to eat, they don't have to they don't have to be ill. So what are you buying those discs, and you are completely with her, and then you see him introducing this, and you say, wouldn't I want that my children go to school and find this? So in a way, they both right. And I think those situations are the most interesting because they keep on asking you things, even when the film is over and the next day you ask yourself, what is more important? What do I have to defend? And I think about what we were talking about, I think it was interesting to place a film in that specific year, this year of the end of the wars and the beginning of the peace, because I think it's a past, but it still dialogues with us. Because if it would have been a more faraway past, you kind of feel you have an exotic gaze on, oh, look at those Roman moments of the empire and how they lived, and it's more like pictorial in a way. And at the same time, of course, it's old, but you still see that we come from there. And it still asks ourselves where we are now. So you look at the past to understand maybe better what we are now, what is better and what is worse. And it makes you just change a little bit of your seat. But that mother is my grandmother, and I still have my grandmother inside me. And of course, I'm here talking with you, and my grandmother was in a kitchen the whole life, and she gave birth for 20 years to 10 kids. And if she would look at me, she would not understand what I'm doing. So you say, okay, just 2 generations, revolution. But at the same time, to be here with you, it took me more effort because my grandmother was inside me saying, what do you want to do? You have to stay in the kitchen. So in a way, I think those women are, of course, they live in another, but they're still us. And I think this is one of the interesting aspects of the film, that it could allow us to change a little bit space and time, but still think about who we were, who we are, and who we will be.
What does it mean to you to have the film here at London Film Festival? And I know it had such a wonderful response in Venice, but bringing it now here, how does that feel for you?
I'm very happy to be back in the BFI. I was here also with my first fiction film, but this time in competition, so it's even better. And of course, it's such a full moment because in 1 month everything happened, like Venice and the award and the Oscar nominees. So it's kind of maybe too many things to really realize. I think I will look at it back in some months. But it's also a beautiful event, so it's nice, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me. Huge congratulations on the film, and really enjoyed presenting it here in London. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.